This is a very important and a wonderful topic because this state of liberation, the state of being one with God, like a wave in the ocean, like a beam of sunlight, it's already there. It's already within us. We came from God. From joy I came, for joy I live. As I was reading just now, in that joy, again, Satchidananda, I will melt. What a wonderful thought to keep in your mind, that no matter what we go through, the different delusions and attachments and desires and the blockages and the pitfalls and the temptations, and we're winding our way back to our true reality. Beyond all of that, the truth is that we are children of the light. We are children of God. We are children of joy. And as long as it takes to work our way back, that's what the reality is. But still, it leaves one such hope. And to know that, as it says in this reading, that is the final destination. And I was thinking of how encouraging Master was, always encouraging. No matter what happened with a person in their life, always seeking the highest, seeking positivity. This will work out, keep working at it, keep trying. And Master said that millions would find God. He said through his book, the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of, through the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, as Master presented them, he said, millions will find God. I know, I have seen them. Now, that means the teachings that are there in the Gita. It doesn't mean the book, it means the teachings, and we are practicing those teachings. And on one talk, I heard Master saying, in the Gita, it says, Krishna says, out of 1,000, one seeks me. And out of those 1,000 that seek me, perhaps one knows me. Now, this doesn't sound very good. It's not a very good percentage. But then I heard Master saying on that talk, but our percentages are better. And here again, still so hopeful, and our percentages are better in this time that we're living with what we have to work with. And I was recalling Swamiji, Kriyanandaji, at the age of 22, at the beginning of his time on this path, not near the end, at the beginning, he asked his guru, will I find God in this lifetime? At 22 years old, he just came, and Master said, yes, but don't think about it. And this is the thing, we have to know that we've been with these teachings, we've been with our guru, who knows how many lifetimes. We've had Kriya, who knows how many lifetimes. It's like a nail in a board. You keep pulling, pulling. We've been pulling who knows how many lifetimes. It's got to come out. The delusions have to come out. And there was one man with Master, he was his disciple, and he always was in some kind of mischief or trouble. And Master said, he said, even you will find God in this lifetime. And Master said, I don't know how, but Divine Mother says it's so, so it must be so. And so what does that lead us to believe? That there's so much grace and so many blessings, like a big wave pushing us forward to the shore of the divine, and we have to ride that wave and not go walking on the beach and now I'm going to swim by myself. Oh, I see some dolphins, I want to swim with them. You have to get on the wave. But the wave is there. And it's such a wonderful thought that we are nearing home. We are going home, and we are nearing home. And I was thinking about all the things that we have to propel us in that direction. Look at all the tools, all the techniques. Master said, if Yogananda, if you do 1/100th of what I've given, you can find God, because he gave so much. So you think of the techniques that we have of energization, of Hang Sa, of Om, affirmations, healing techniques, healing prayers. You think of all the chants. Chanting's half the battle, Master said. You think of the 400 pieces of music Swamiji wrote, the 150 books that he wrote, all of Master's classes and put into book form, all of our gurus who are helping us, our Master's power behind us, our guru bhais. And places like this that we can come to, Swamiji, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. This is why the percentages are better. Because in this life we have merited. We have brought to ourselves, we've magnetized to ourselves through hard effort, through a lot of struggle. We've gotten to this point where we've merited a guru, we've merited our masters and all that they have given us. It takes very, very, very good karma to get to this point. But you have to realize that we have to use that good karma. I remember Master said of one man who was with him for 12 years. And then this man, he left, he went somewhere else. And the disciples were saying, well, when will he come back? As people, Swami Kriyanandaji told us, Mount Washington, where they lived, was like a hotel. People checked in, people checked out, they came and went, they just couldn't take it. But this man left, and they said, well, Master, when will he come back? And he said, no, he'll never come back. And they said, well, why? He said, he was never in. My goodness, think of it. He was there, he was with Master all that time. I don't know if he lived there or not, but he was with him as a disciple. He hadn't opened himself up. Wow. That's something to keep thinking about. It's not the time, the amount of time. There was a woman who came to Yoganandaji who was 80 years old. And by God's grace and her efforts, Master said she found God in that very lifetime. And so we have to use what's been given, utilize the tools. And otherwise, it's like pushing from two sides of a door, both sides. We want to, and then we don't want to. We want to, we don't want to. Or Swami Kriyanandaji told us a cute story of something that he actually heard of of a bus that was stuck in a ditch. And the driver asked people to get out and push. Now, what did he find? He kept trying to get the bus going. He finally got out and he looked out and he saw half the people pushing from the front and half the people pushing from the back. And this is what happens in our lives. We say, yes, I'm going. Then, I don't want to do anything. And remember how Swamiji was passing Yoganandaji one day, and the Master says, well, how are you, Walter? Master was so powerful, so magnetic. He was just ever positive, no matter what the situation. And so he's passing by Swamiji and says, well, how are you, Walter? And Swamiji says, well, and Master says, that's good. He just didn't want to hear it. And say that to yourself, that's good, whatever it is. And just pick yourself up out of that. And then you'll find that, wow, there's so much energy lifted up from the practices and right attitude. And now we look at what Kriya Yoga does. I mean, forget the past. The vanished lives of all are dark with many shames. Swami Sri Yukteswarji said, but everything will improve if you're making a spiritual effort now with all these things we talked about. And with Kriya, one Kriya is worth a whole year of natural human spiritual evolution. one Kriya. So what does Kriya do? Practice Kriya is what Lahiri Mahashaya said. For every problem, practice Kriya Yoga. Now, how does that help you? It lifts your energy up for one. You have more energy. You have more magnetism. Energy is flowing properly. Your mind is more clear. There's more concentration. There's more light. Things come. Your aura changes and it begins to draw positive people, circumstances, opportunities in your life from the practices. And so we don't want to think about, the problems. We want to think about, I'm going to keep practicing. I want to keep doing this. I'm going to keep my sadhana strong. I'm going to keep chanting. I'm going to keep serving. I'm going to keep all these things going. And I remember when I first came onto the path, I was not a vegetarian then. And this was some many years back. And I didn't want to follow things because it said, you must do this, you must do that. I said, I've got to come at it from my own inner realities. And so then I began to just do, I wasn't living at Ananda yet. I was just studying the teachings on my own, haphazardly, mind you. And then I just started doing not Ananda yoga, but yoga on my own. I felt so good doing that practice, that tool, that method, that technique, that I changed. I changed my diet. And I wasn't trying to change my diet, but because I felt so good, and this is what's so wonderful about this path, these practices work. They're ancient, they're tried, they're true, they've been practiced by all the masters, all the disciples from millennia. So I practice and practice, and then it took me about a year of letting go different types of foods that I didn't want to eat. But boy, it worked. And that's the thing. If you focus on the practices, the changes happen. Like we all know the story of the man who drank. He was not just drank, he was an alcoholic. And master said, keep practicing Kriya, keep practicing. You gotta love that, keep practicing. And the man kept practicing and he would drink whiskey during the meditation, mind you. So it's a great story. And he would practice and then he would drink and practice. And one day, some time went by and Swami Kriyanandaji knew him. Some time went by and that man put that bottle down. He never drank again. Now I've heard people tell me personally that this has happened in my life. Drinking or smoking or some bad habit, anger or fearfulness, or that just continuing. You become victorious over moods, over bad habits, over wrong attitudes, over negativity, over fears. They just start falling away from doing the practice. And as you do it, you see your whole demeanor changes, your spine changes, your face changes, your eyes, your energy level, your hope changes. And I remember when I used to do the Raja Yoga classes, I don't do them anymore. I used to do them in Gurgaon. And we went 3 months, believe it or not, on Raja Yoga. We did every lesson, and we needed even more time than that. But I told the students, I'm going to take your picture before and after. Wow, now that was something. And before, they were kind of sleepy looking and, not a whole lot of energy, surely not magnetic. And but I took their pictures and then went through every week, energization, yoga. Then we're doing chanting, and then we're studying the scriptures, and we're studying the Raja Yoga book, and we're doing seva. And I tell you, after 12 weeks, I said, look at your face. Look how much you've changed. Isn't it? And think about it. Look at your old pictures. There's so much change. There's a person, I won't say the name, but they went to Swami Kriyanandaji and they said, Swamiji, I don't think I changed at all. They had been on the path dozens of years, and at least a couple dozen. And Swamiji said, what are you saying? You're a completely different person. And so we have to know that from inside out. There's so many wonderful changes that we're leaving old thoughts, karma, mountains. I mean, mountains of karma. How else does that happen? Guru Kripa. Master said 25% is your effort. 25%, I'll give you lots of my good karma. I'll tell you something that was scary with me, and also before I forget, and they said 50% is the grace of God. But I remember once somehow Swamiji had heard something that was going to happen, this person wanted to do. And the person went and talked with Swamiji, and Swamiji said, well, I hope you're not planning to do that. That's not the right thing. And the person said, no, Swamiji, that's not true. I'm not planning. And Swamiji's answer was shocking. He said, that's a relief. And I heard that and I went, wow, it was a relief. I mean, he was going to have to help them through that difficulty, that pitfall, that delusion, that temptation. And we think, oh, it's okay, I'll get through it. And you don't get through it. It's not that easy. That once you really put your feet firmly on the spiritual path, you have to just keep walking. Go on alone. If everybody else goes away, then you keep walking. You keep going further and further until you just know. And sometimes it's like, I just can't go any further. It's hopeless. There's so many difficulties. Like, you have to feel for Arjuna when he said to Krishna, I just can't fight. It's too much going on. There are too many bad habits. It's too much. I can't fight my own relatives. They're so close to me. How can I fight them? And Krishna says, it is unbecoming. Pick up your bow. You've got to fight. And even in times of hopelessness, we feel like I just can't go on anymore. We have the gurus. We have the guru bhais. We have, Master said to those who think me near, I'll be with you. You call a guru bhai up and they help you. And I tell you, there was one time when I was at Ananda, early on, I went in 1979, I believe it was the first time I went there, and maybe 78. And so I was an apprentice. I was in the apprentice program there for as long as I wanted to be. It was month by month, and I was straight out of Los Angeles, and I didn't live, this was up in the hills, and I was in a tent, at the beginning at least, until raccoons visited me. Then I exited the tent. I lived inside in a very humble dwelling with another person. And so I was there for, it was either 2 or 3 months. And then I just got tired of it. I just said, I just don't want to do this anymore. I was like 21 years old or something. I said, I don't want to be positive every day. No, I don't. I don't want to be energetic every day. I don't want to be enthusiastic anymore. I don't want to energize every day. I don't want to do yoga. I don't want to meditate. And this gets that side of you. That's the pushing both sides of the door. But that bad side was pushing hard. So I left. And, it's my own life. I do what I want. I don't want anybody telling me. And I know this is how a lot of people think. But boy, did I get into hot water. So I left Ananda. I told one person. I didn't even want anybody to know. I said, I'm just going. Nobody's going to stop me. And I went back to my old life, old friends and old, all the old. It was terrible. It was the worst. I stayed gone for 3 years. That was the worst 3 years of my entire life because I wasn't supposed to be there. And I remember I had a big picture like this one of Master on my wall. And at a certain point, the picture fell off. It had glass on it, fell down off the wall. The glass cracked. And I went, oh no, that can't be a good omen. That was soon after I went back home. I tried to hang on to my meditation, everything. Oh, it was just flying out the window. I tried to hang on to energization. It was flying out after the meditation. Everything was going out. And then I had this mala, my Kriya mala, and at a certain point, soon that broke, and all the beads, I remember them on the floor, and they all broke. And I went, oh no. I mean, just knew I was heading in the wrong direction. And this is what happens. Master keeps saying, don't go there. That's the wrong thought. That's the wrong people to be with. That's the wrong energy. This isn't right for you. But we say, no, I'm going to go along. So thank God you get hit over the head. And then you say, okay, I've learned my lesson, and now I want to go home. And when that, as I read earlier, when that seed is planted in your heart, I've had enough thrills. I've had enough things that seem, the relationships and the money and the fame, and it all seemed like it was going to be wonderful. I've had enough. This isn't my home. It's not my world. I want to go home. And when you want that bad enough, then you really stick with what Master gave. You stick with Master. You stick with the techniques. You do the discipline, and you keep moving forward. And at the end, you find there's so much joy. And it's more like sahaja. It's more like you're just floating, going easily over the difficulties in life, rather than fighting your way through. And you realize, like one man who was, he would toss flower petals on the picture of his guru. Maybe it was a Murti, I'm not sure, and he, after his meditations every time. And then at a certain point, he was in ecstasy himself. You want to go there. He was in such a deep ecstasy that he began to toss the flowers on his own head. And he realized what my Master has, he's given that to me. Master said to some people about Swamiji, if Swamiji thought at a certain point he changed himself, and Master said, look how I've changed Walter. Look how he's changed you. Our part with yoga is to open ourselves, be more receptive, and those changes begin to happen. So let us remember and realize that victory is certain for those who stay in tune, call on the blessings of the Masters, keep doing your part, and then it'll be like Lady Mahashaya said, Banat, Banat, Ban. Chai. God bless you. Happy Dussehra.